you? Welcome back to a new video. For today, we are going to be talking about books, some of my favorite books that have completely shifted the way I think about life, the way I approach life, and have helped me on my own journey of self-awareness and self-development, and just open my mind up to other ideas and how life is. So I'm gonna list off, a few of those books. So starting off, number one, I feel like this is probably one of the most talked about, The Power of Now. This is such a good book, and this was probably, I want to say this is like the first book I read on my self-development journey that I was just like, what? It just opens your mind up to a completely different way of thinking and allowing you to step outside of yourself a little bit more. So The Power of Now, it's by Eckhart Tolle. And it's basically, this is a really great one to read if you kind of want to grasp the idea of the ego versus the true self. So this really goes into depth about that, being able to say, okay, like what has been conditioned and put on me by society versus what is me as my true being. And even, as we're born, it's like we're given a name, we're given, you're born into a specific family, and maybe you have certain ways that you do things within your family, and all of these things that are sort of placed on you at birth that aren't you truly at your core. Like those are those outer things that we've been conditioned to, which is more of that ego part of ourself versus our actual true being. So this one is a really great one for wrapping your mind around that whole concept and coming back to yourself a little bit. So I'll leave it at that. Definitely a good one. Highly recommend. Another book, I don't have it with me. Like I can't figure out where I put it. I must have lent it to someone. But Mark Manson's books, both of them I have read. So the first one is called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fudge, and then he also has the follow-up book called Everything is Fudged. So The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fudge, that was also another one I read pretty early on. I love his whole, no bull approach to things. I really admire that about him, because I like to consider myself more of that no bullcrap kind of person too. Do you know what I mean? It's like, just cut the crap. And yeah, he definitely has that mindset as well. So his first book, really, really good. That one was all about, reallocating where you put your time and your energy and your effort, and that, where we put our minds. Like so many of us just stress about the most frivolous friggin' things, or like we put so much energy and effort into things that just were like, what is the point of that? It's like allotting where you give your fudges. That's sort of the whole concept of the book. So I loved that. I read that book so quickly. And then the follow-up book, a book about hope. This one was really, really good as well. This one has a little bit more like psychology references in it too, and like different studies that have been done. And there's a lot of really cool studies that he referenced in that book. And I would recommend both of those books. Another book that I really liked was The Alchemist. This is actually a fiction book, and I know this book has a lot of praise online, but there's also a lot of hate on this book too. I don't know why. I personally really liked it. I read it within a day, probably a day or two. This to me was a book about destiny and following your intuition, and just how life unfolds in the most mysterious, crazy ways. And it really is about the whole journey and the process. Like you have that one end goal in mind, but it's like the things that you learn and do and figure out along the way are just as valuable and as important as that end goal is. That's sort of what I took from this whole book. And to just be able to follow your intuition and make things work for you as you go. And even if it's not as you expected things to unfold, that's okay, because it's still working out. And that's the whole destiny factor behind this book. So definitely recommend this one if you're looking for like a quick, fun fiction read that is all about that sort of world of things. Next up is The Four Agreements. I really loved this book. And this one is about like basically like 4 rules for life to live by. So I'll just like go over it. So the first one is be impeccable with your word. The second is don't take anything personally. The third is don't make assumptions. And then the fourth is always do your best. So this book sort of goes into details on each of those rules or mantras to like live your life by. My favorite from this book that I will take with me until the day I die is don't take anything personally. And I think that one is such a good one to remember. We all act and do things based on our own individual perception of how we view the world. And when you take something personally that somebody else does, he basically says that that's a selfish act to do because you're making it all about you. When in fact, you know, we all do things based on ourselves, really. So that's sort of an interesting one to grasp and to wrap your mind around, because people at the end of the day are going to do what they're going to do. If you cannot change any other person, you can only change yourself. And if you're constantly out there like bashing your head against a wall trying to change anything else around you, you're just going to be frustrated and annoyed. And if you take that so personally that someone doesn't act in a way that you expect them to act, you're just harming yourself at the end, because you can't change other people. And that's a hard truth to swallow, I think, and something I've definitely learned, but that took me a long time to learn. But yeah. So similar, those kind of things are in this book. Another book, I don't have it with me because I lent it to someone, which is Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. So this is a book all about past life regression. That book, I will say, is probably one of my favorite books that I have ever read, and one that completely opened my mind and shifted my mind to the way that I think about life. I already had more of a spiritual view on life before I stumbled onto that book. And then when I read that book, I was like, whoa, okay. I totally believe all of this stuff. I mean, you don't have to believe it. You're entitled to your own beliefs, but I totally believe that we are all spiritual beings and we are reincarnated over and over again. And we have specific lessons to learn, and we have karmic debts, and we have all of this stuff. And that book was very much all about that. So he worked with patients to get to the root of like their chronic anxieties and issues they were having in their lives. And he sort of stumbled into past life regressions during a hypnosis session with one of his patients. And she started recalling a past life, and they had this total like crazy spiritual moment where she was saying things to him under hypnosis that no one could have possibly known. So that's a really good one if you're into like past lives and sort of the whole spiritual world and you want to explore that a little bit more. But that one just totally shifted my mind, and I want to say it made me a little more confident to live more fearlessly as well, because what's the point of being here if we're here, you know, having this human experience to have a friggin' human experience? What's the point of just hiding away and, you know, doing things out of comfort when, you know, we're here to explore, we're here to have that experience, we're here to do all of these things. So I feel like it honestly shifted my mindset to be a lot more fearless and open and I don't know, all of those things. So yeah, you don't have to believe in that, but I found it to be quite fascinating. And another book, just a hot little mention, is The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday. This is one I read daily. So this is 366 meditations on wisdom, perseverance, and the art of living. So it has like a date, and then every single day of the year you have like your little daily little thing of wisdom and a way to look at life. And I also like looking at life through more of that stoic mindset. So this is a good one and a nice little reminder on the daily. It's part of my morning routine to read this, journal a full page, have my morning tea, and that's what's up. So those are some of the books I would highly recommend to check out if any of them sound interesting to you. I will link all of them below if you want to check them out over on Amazon. But yeah, honestly would highly recommend. And a few of them I have like made other people in my life read too. I'm like, these are so good, you have to read them. So yeah, I would recommend any of those if you're looking to change your mindset or shift your mindset a little bit or be open to a different way of looking at things. Then you're in for a treat. That's all I wanted to chat about today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye.